Stephanie sat in her car outside the restaurant, watching through the window as her husband of 7 years fed strawberries to another woman. The same way he used to feed her during their first anniversary dinner. The same gentle smile. The same tender touch. But this time, it wasn't her receiving his affection. It was Rebecca, his secretary, the woman who had been calling their house at odd hours, the woman who had been working late with him every night for the past 6 months. Her hands trembled as she gripped the steering wheel. The diamond ring on her finger caught the afternoon light, mocking her with its brilliance. She had come to surprise him with lunch, had even bought his favorite sandwich from the deli across town. The brown paper bag sat in the passenger seat, growing cold, just like her heart. Through the glass, she watched as Rebecca threw her head back and laughed at something Nathan said. Her perfectly styled blonde hair cascaded over her shoulders, and her red dress hugged her curves in all the right places. She was everything Stephanie wasn't: young, carefree, without the weight of 7 years of marriage and the stress of trying to build a life together. Stephanie's phone buzzed. A text from Nathan. Working late again tonight. Don't wait up. Love you. Love you. The words felt like acid in her chest. She screenshotted the message, her lawyer's voice echoing in her mind from their consultation last month. Document everything, she had said. You'll need proof. She had hoped she was wrong. Had hoped that her suspicions were just paranoia, that her husband's distance was just work stress, that the late nights and weekend calls were really about his job. But here was the truth playing out in front of her like a movie she never wanted to watch. Nathan leaned across the table and kissed Rebecca softly. Stephanie's breath caught in her throat. She had seen enough. More than enough. Her marriage was over and she was the last one to know. Starting the engine, Stephanie drove home in a daze. The house they had bought together 5 years ago looked different now. The white picket fence seemed like a lie, the garden she had carefully tended felt like a joke. Everything she had built, everything she had sacrificed for, was crumbling around her. She walked into their bedroom and opened Nathan's closet. His clothes hung neatly, the same way she had organized them every week. His cologne still lingered in the air, the scent that used to comfort her now making her sick. On his nightstand she found what she was looking for: a second phone, hidden beneath his watch box. Her hands shook as she picked it up. The screen lit up with notifications. Messages from Rebecca. Photos. Plans. A whole secret life that didn't include her. Stephanie scrolled through months of conversations, each message a dagger to her heart. Can't wait to start our life together, Rebecca had written just yesterday. Soon, Nathan had replied. I just need to figure out how to tell her. Tell her. As if Stephanie was just an obstacle to overcome, not a person who had devoted her life to their marriage. Not someone who had given up her own dreams to support his career. Not someone who had loved him with everything she had. Stephanie set the phone down and walked to the bathroom. Looking in the mirror, she saw a stranger staring back. When had her eyes become so dull? When had her smile disappeared? When had she become so invisible that her own husband could look right through her? She was 32 years old and she felt like her life was over. Nathan had been her everything: her first love, her husband, her future. They had met in college and she had never even considered that there might be life without him. She had built her entire identity around being his wife. But as she stood there in the bathroom they had remodeled together 2 years ago, Stephanie felt something shift inside her. The initial shock was wearing off, replaced by something else. Something that felt like clarity. She didn't have to be the victim in this story. She didn't have to be the woman who got left behind. She could be the woman who walked away first. Stephanie went to the kitchen and made herself a cup of tea. She sat at the table where they had shared thousands of meals, where they had made plans for their future, where Nathan had proposed to her 6 years ago. She pulled out her phone and scrolled through her contacts until she found the number she was looking for. Hello, this is Stephanie Torres, she said when the lawyer answered. I need to schedule an appointment. It's urgent. As she hung up, Stephanie felt something she hadn't felt in months. She felt alive. The pain was still there, sharp and raw, but underneath it was something else. Something that felt like possibility. Nathan came home at midnight, smelling like Rebecca's perfume. He kissed Stephanie's forehead as she pretended to sleep, and she had to stop herself from pulling away. Tomorrow she would confront him. Tomorrow she would start the process of reclaiming her life. But tonight, she lay in bed next to the man who had betrayed her, and she planned her escape. She thought about the woman she used to be before Nathan, before she had shrunk herself to fit into his world. She thought about the dreams she had abandoned, the career she had put on hold, the life she had never lived. Stephanie Torres was about to disappear. But someone new was going to take her place. Someone stronger. Someone who would never again make the mistake of loving someone more than she loved herself. And Nathan Torres was going to regret the day he decided she wasn't enough. Stephanie woke up before dawn, her body refusing to rest. Nathan slept peacefully beside her, his arm draped over her waist like nothing had changed. But everything had changed. The man she had loved and trusted for 7 years was a stranger, and she was lying next to him, pretending to be someone she no longer recognized. She slipped out of bed quietly and made her way to the kitchen. The morning light filtered through the windows, casting shadows across the breakfast nook where they had shared so many quiet mornings together. She made coffee and sat at the table watching Nathan's phone buzz with messages. Even in sleep, Rebecca was reaching for him. At 7:30, Nathan emerged from the bedroom adjusting his tie. He looked handsome in his navy suit, the same one Stephanie had helped him pick out for his promotion last year. The promotion that had brought Rebecca into their lives. "Morning, beautiful," he said, kissing her cheek. The word beautiful felt like a slap. When was the last time he had really looked at her? When was the last time he had seen her as anything other than the wife he was planning to leave? "We need to talk," Stephanie said, her voice steady despite the storm raging inside her. Nathan glanced at his watch. "Can it wait? I have an early meeting with the Peterson account." "No," Stephanie said. "It can't wait." Something in her tone made him pause. He poured himself coffee and sat across from her, his phone still buzzing on the counter. "What's wrong?" Stephanie pulled out her phone and showed him the screenshot of his text from yesterday. "You weren't working late. You were with Rebecca." Nathan's face went pale. For a moment he looked like he might deny it. Then his shoulders sagged and Stephanie saw the truth in his eyes. "How long have you known?" "Long enough," Stephanie said. "I saw you together yesterday. At Romano's." "Stephanie, I can explain." "Don't." Her voice was sharp now, cutting through his attempt at damage control. "Don't you dare try to explain this away. I saw you feeding her strawberries. I saw you kiss her. I know about the phone, Nathan. I know about all of it." Nathan ran his hands through his hair, the gesture she had once found endearing now making her sick. "It wasn't supposed to happen like this. I was going to tell you. I was trying to find the right way." "The right way to what? To tell me you've been cheating on me for months? To tell me you've been lying to my face every single day? To tell me you've been planning your life with another woman while I've been here playing the perfect wife?" "It's not like that," Nathan said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Then what is it like?" Stephanie stood up, her coffee mug shaking in her hands. "Tell me what it's like to love someone for 7 years, to build a life with them, to trust them completely, only to find out they've been making a fool of you." Nathan looked down at his hands. "I didn't mean for it to happen. Rebecca and I, we connected. She understands me in a way that I don't." Stephanie's voice rose. "I don't understand you? I'm the one who supported you through law school. I'm the one who moved across the country when you got your first job. I'm the one who gave up my career to help you build yours. I'm the one who's been here, Nathan. Every single day I've been here." "You gave up your career because you wanted to," Nathan said, and Stephanie saw a flash of the man she was really married to. The man who could rewrite history to make himself feel better. "I gave up my career because you asked me to. Because you said we were a team. Because you said my dreams mattered less than your ambition." Stephanie set her mug down hard, coffee sloshing over the rim. "But that's not even the point. The point is that you made vows to me. You promised to love me, to honor me, to be faithful to me. And you broke every single one of those promises." Nathan stood up, reaching for her. "Stephanie, please. Let me explain. Rebecca and I, we never meant for it to go this far. But we fell in love. Real love. The kind of love that—" "Get out." Stephanie's voice was deadly quiet. "What?" "Get out of my house. Now." "Stephanie, this is our house. We can work this out. We can go to counseling. We can." "Our house." Stephanie laughed, but there was no humor in it. "This stopped being our house the moment you decided to build a life with someone else. This stopped being our marriage the moment you chose her over me." Nathan's phone rang. Rebecca's name flashed on the screen. He glanced at it, then back at Stephanie. The fact that he even hesitated told her everything she needed to know. "Answer it," Stephanie said. "Go ahead. Answer your girlfriend's call." Nathan declined the call, but the damage was done. Stephanie had seen the conflict in his eyes, had seen him weigh his options. 7 years of marriage, and he had to think about whether to answer another woman's call. "I want you out of this house by tonight," Stephanie said. "I'm filing for divorce." "Stephanie, please, let's not do anything hasty. We can figure this out." "Hasty?" Stephanie stared at him. You've been cheating on me for months and you think I'm being hasty? You've been planning your exit strategy with another woman, and you think I'm being hasty? I never wanted to hurt you, Nathan said, and Stephanie almost believed he meant it. But you did hurt me. Every lie, every secret meeting, every time you came home to me smelling like her perfume. You've been hurting me for months, Nathan. The only difference is now I know about it. Nathan tried one more time. What if I ended it with Rebecca? What if I chose you? Stephanie looked at him for a long moment. This was the man she had loved more than anything in the world. The man she had built her life around. The man she had trusted with her heart and her future. And he was asking her to accept the scraps of his affection, to be grateful that he might choose her over the woman he had been cheating with. I wouldn't take you back if you begged me, Stephanie said. I deserve better than being someone's second choice. I deserve better than being with someone who could look me in the eye and lie to me for months. I deserve better than you. Nathan's face crumpled. Stephanie, I love you. I've always loved you. No, you don't, Stephanie said, and she felt the truth of it in her bones. You love the idea of me. You love having someone to come home to, someone to take care of you, someone to make you feel like a good husband. But you don't love me. If you loved me, you never could have done this. She walked past him toward the bedroom. I'm going to pack a bag and stay at my sister's. When I come back tomorrow, I want you gone. Take whatever you need, but leave the rest. We'll figure out the details through our lawyers. Stephanie, wait. She turned back to him one last time. I'm not waiting anymore, Nathan. I've been waiting for you to love me the way I loved you. I've been waiting for you to see me, to choose me, to fight for us. But I'm done waiting. I'm done being the only one who cared about our marriage. As Stephanie packed her clothes, she felt something unexpected. Relief. The worst had happened and she was still standing. The marriage was over, but she was still here. Still breathing. Still alive. Nathan had taken her heart and broken it into a million pieces. But he hadn't taken her strength. He hadn't taken her dignity. And he hadn't taken her future. Stephanie Torres was about to find out who she was without him. And Nathan Torres was about to find out what he had really lost. Stephanie sat in her sister Carmen's kitchen, staring at the divorce papers spread across the table. 3 days had passed since she'd left Nathan, and the reality of her situation was beginning to sink in. She had no job, no income, and no idea how to rebuild her life from scratch. You can stay here as long as you need, Carmen said, setting a cup of coffee in front of her. But Stephanie, you need to think about what you're going to do next. Stephanie nodded, knowing her sister was right. She had spent the last 7 years being Nathan's wife, and before that she had been preparing to be Nathan's wife. She had never learned how to just be Stephanie. I have my degree in marketing, Stephanie said, more to herself than to Carmen. It's been 7 years, but maybe someone will hire me. Start applying, Carmen encouraged. You're smart, you're talented, and you're free. This is your chance to build the life you want. Stephanie spent the morning updating her resume, trying to explain away the 7-year gap in her employment history. Every job application felt like a reminder of how much she had given up for Nathan. But by lunch, she had submitted applications to 12 different companies. Her phone rang just as she was making herself a sandwich. Unknown number. Stephanie Torres? The voice was crisp, professional. Yes. This is Victoria Hamilton. I'm the CEO of Hamilton Marketing Group. I received your application this morning and I'd like to speak with you. Are you available for coffee this afternoon? Stephanie's heart raced. Hamilton Marketing Group was one of the most successful agencies in the city. Yes, absolutely. What time works for you? 3 o'clock? There's a cafe called Brew and Bold on 5th Street. Stephanie arrived at the cafe 15 minutes early, her hands shaking slightly as she ordered a latte. She spotted Victoria Hamilton immediately, a striking woman in her 40s with short silver hair and an aura of confidence that filled the room. She was everything Stephanie aspired to be, successful, self-assured, and completely in control of her own destiny. Stephanie? Victoria stood, extending her hand. Thank you for meeting me on such short notice. They sat at a corner table and Victoria got straight to the point. I looked at your portfolio from college. Your work was exceptional. What have you been doing for the past 7 years? Stephanie had prepared for this question, but sitting across from Victoria Hamilton, she found herself telling the truth. I was married. I gave up my career to support my husband's ambitions. We divorced 3 days ago. Victoria's expression didn't change. And now I'm ready to build my own life. I'm ready to work harder than I've ever worked before. I'm ready to prove that I'm more than just someone's wife. Victoria smiled for the first time. Good. I don't hire people who are looking for easy jobs. I hire people who are hungry. Are you hungry, Stephanie? Starving, Stephanie said and meant it. I'm starting a new division focused on rebranding companies that are going through major transitions. Change is hard, but it's also opportunity. I need someone who understands that transformation isn't just about changing your image, it's about changing your entire identity. Stephanie leaned forward. I understand that better than anyone. I thought you might. Victoria pulled out a business card. The job is yours if you want it. The hours are long, the expectations are high, and the work is demanding. But the pay is excellent, and the potential for growth is unlimited. Stephanie took the card, her hands steady now. When do I start? Monday. But Stephanie? Victoria's voice softened slightly. Don't do this for revenge. Don't do this to prove anything to your ex-husband. Do this for yourself. Because you deserve to discover who you really are. Stephanie nodded, but inside she was already imagining Nathan's face when he saw her success. She was already planning the life that would make him realize what he had lost. One more thing, Victoria said as they stood to leave. I know it's tempting to use success as a weapon against the people who hurt you. But the best revenge is living well. The best revenge is becoming so happy and fulfilled that you forget why you wanted revenge in the first place. That evening, Stephanie called Nathan. He answered on the first ring. Stephanie? Thank God. I've been trying to reach you. We need to talk. We are talking, Stephanie said calmly. I'm calling to let you know that I got a job. I'll be financially independent, so you don't need to worry about alimony. Stephanie, I don't care about the money. I care about us. Rebecca and we ended things. I realized I made a mistake. I want to work this out. Stephanie felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, no satisfaction. Just emptiness where her feelings for Nathan used to be. It's too late for that. It's never too late. We can start over. We can go back to the way things were. I don't want to go back, Stephanie said. I want to go forward. I want to discover who I am when I'm not trying to be the woman you want me to be. Stephanie, please. I love you. I've always loved you. Maybe you did in your own way. But it wasn't enough. And I'm not going to spend the rest of my life wondering when you'll decide it's not enough again. So that's it? 7 years of marriage and you're just giving up? I'm not giving up, Nathan. I'm choosing myself. For the first time in my adult life, I'm choosing me. Stephanie hung up and turned off her phone. She sat in Carmen's guest room, looking at herself in the mirror. The woman staring back at her looked different already. Stronger. More determined. More alive. Victoria Hamilton had given her more than a job. She had given her a chance to discover who Stephanie Torres really was. And Stephanie was going to take that chance and run with it. Nathan Torres had no idea what was coming. But more importantly, Stephanie was beginning to realize that she didn't care what Nathan thought anymore. She was about to become someone new. Someone who didn't need his approval or his love to feel complete. The transformation was just beginning. Stephanie's first day at Hamilton Marketing Group felt like stepping into a different world. The office occupied the top 3 floors of a gleaming downtown building, with floor-to-ceiling windows that offered a panoramic view of the city. Everything was sleek, modern, and expensive, a far cry from the small home office where she had once helped Nathan with his legal briefs. Victoria gave her a tour, introducing her to the team. Everyone, this is Stephanie Torres. She'll be leading our new transformation division. Stephanie, meet your team. Stephanie shook hands with 5 talented professionals, each one accomplished in their own right. The weight of leadership settled on her shoulders, but instead of feeling intimidated, she felt energized. This was her chance to prove herself not just to Victoria but to herself. Your first project, Victoria said, handing Stephanie a thick folder, is Hartwell Industries. They're a family-owned manufacturing company that's been hemorrhaging money for 3 years. The new CEO wants to modernize everything: their image, their processes, their entire approach to business. It's a complete rebrand worth $3 million. Stephanie's eyes widened. $3 million. In her old life, she had never handled anything worth more than the household budget. What's the timeline? 6 months. The CEO, James Hartwell, is coming in Thursday for the initial presentation. He's difficult, demanding, and he's been through 4 marketing agencies in the past 2 years. Don't let him intimidate you. Stephanie spent the next 3 days immersed in research. She studied Hartwell Industries' history, their competitors, their market position, and their failures. She barely slept, surviving on coffee and determination. By Wednesday night, she had developed a comprehensive strategy that would transform Hartwell Industries from a struggling manufacturer into a modern, innovative company. Thursday morning, Stephanie stood in the conference room, her presentation ready. She had bought a new suit, a sharp navy blue that made her feel powerful and professional. Her hair was pulled back in a sleek bun, and she wore minimal makeup that highlighted her natural beauty. She looked nothing like the woman who had discovered her husband's affair just 2 weeks ago. James Hartwell arrived with 2 associates, his presence filling the room. He was a tall man in his 50s, with silver hair and piercing blue eyes that seemed to miss nothing. He shook hands with Victoria, then turned to Stephanie with obvious skepticism. "Miss Torres, I hope you understand that I don't have time to waste. I've been through 4 agencies, and each one promised me the moon and delivered nothing but expensive disappointment." Stephanie met his gaze steadily. "Mr. Hartwell, I understand your frustration. But I'm not here to promise you the moon. I'm here to show you how to build a rocket ship." Something flickered in Hartwell's eyes. Interest maybe. Or challenge. Stephanie began her presentation, her voice clear and confident. She explained how Hartwell Industries had fallen behind because they were trying to compete on price instead of value. She showed them how their competitors had modernized their branding and marketing while Hartwell had remained stuck in the past. "Your company isn't failing because you make bad products," Stephanie said. "You're failing because nobody knows you make good ones. You're the best kept secret in manufacturing, and that's the problem." She outlined her strategy: a complete visual rebrand, a new website, targeted social media campaigns, and a comprehensive public relations push. She showed them mock-ups of new logos, packaging designs, and marketing materials that would position Hartwell Industries as an innovative leader in their field. "This isn't just about changing your image," Stephanie continued. "This is about changing your entire identity. You need to stop thinking like a small family business and start thinking like a global brand." When she finished, the room was silent. Hartwell leaned back in his chair, studying her with new respect. "How long have you been doing this, Miss Torres?" Stephanie could have lied. Could have inflated her experience or downplayed her absence from the field. Instead, she chose honesty. "This is my first week back in marketing in 7 years. I took time off to support my husband's career. We're divorced now, and I'm ready to build something of my own." Hartwell nodded slowly. "I appreciate your honesty. And I appreciate your presentation. It's the first one in 2 years that didn't feel like a waste of my time." He stood up, extending his hand. "You have the contract, Miss Torres. But I have one condition. I want you personally overseeing every aspect of this project. If you succeed, there will be more work. If you fail, there won't be." Stephanie shook his hand, her grip firm. "I won't fail." After Hartwell left, Victoria pulled Stephanie aside. "Impressive. How do you feel?" "Terrified," Stephanie admitted. "But also more alive than I've felt in years." "Good. Fear keeps you sharp. Complacency kills creativity." That evening, Stephanie called Carmen with the news. "I got the contract. $3 million. Stephanie, that's incredible. I'm so proud of you. I can't believe it's real. 2 weeks ago, I was making Nathan's dinner and pretending I didn't know about his affair. Now I'm running a division at a major marketing firm." "You were always capable of this," Carmen said. "You just needed the chance to prove it." Stephanie worked late into the night, energized by her success. She created timelines, assigned tasks to her team, and began reaching out to designers and photographers. For the first time in years, she felt like she was exactly where she was supposed to be. Her phone buzzed. A text from Nathan. "Heard you got a job. Congratulations. Can we talk?" Stephanie stared at the message for a long moment, then deleted it without responding. Nathan belonged to her old life. The life where she had been small, dependent, and invisible. That woman was gone. Stephanie Torres was building something new. Something that belonged entirely to her. And she was just getting started. 3 months into her new job, Stephanie stood in front of her bathroom mirror and barely recognized herself. The woman looking back at her was confident, radiant, and powerful. Her skin glowed with health and vitality, her posture was straight and strong, and her eyes sparkled with purpose. The transformation hadn't happened overnight. It had been the result of deliberate choices, each one building on the last. She had joined a gym and discovered that she loved kickboxing, the physical release of punching and kicking helping her work through years of suppressed anger and frustration. She had hired a personal trainer who pushed her to limits she never knew she had. "You're not just getting stronger physically," her trainer, Marcus, had told her. "You're getting stronger mentally. Every rep, every set, every drop of sweat is you proving to yourself that you can do hard things." Stephanie had also invested in herself in other ways. She had gotten a new haircut, a sleek bob that framed her face perfectly. She had upgraded her wardrobe, choosing clothes that made her feel powerful and professional. She had learned to wear makeup that enhanced her natural beauty rather than hiding behind it. But the most dramatic change was internal. Stephanie had discovered that she was naturally gifted at leadership. Her team respected her, clients trusted her, and her ideas were being implemented across the company. The Hartwell Industries project had been a massive success, leading to 2 more major contracts. "Stephanie, you've exceeded every expectation," Victoria said during their monthly review. "I'm promoting you to Senior Vice President. You'll be getting your own office, a significant raise and equity in the company." Stephanie felt tears prick her eyes. "Thank you, Victoria. For everything. For believing in me when I didn't believe in myself. You did the work. I just gave you the opportunity." That afternoon, Stephanie moved into her new office, a corner suite with windows on 2 sides and a view of the entire city. She stood looking out at the skyline, thinking about how different her life had become. 6 months ago, she had been a housewife whose biggest decision was what to make for dinner. Now she was a senior executive at a thriving company, leading a team of 12 people and managing accounts worth millions of dollars. Her phone rang. "Carmen." "Stephanie, you need to see this," Carmen said, her voice excited. "Check your LinkedIn." Stephanie opened the app and gasped. There was an article about her in the business section. "Rising Star, Stephanie Torres transforms Hamilton Marketing Group." The piece detailed her rapid ascent in the company and her innovative approach to corporate rebranding. "They're calling you one of the top marketing executives under 40, Carmen said. "Stephanie, you're famous." The article included a professional photo of Stephanie in her office, looking polished and successful. She looked like someone who had always been in control of her own destiny, someone who had never spent 7 years making herself smaller to fit into someone else's life. Stephanie's phone started buzzing with notifications. Former classmates reaching out to congratulate her. Colleagues sharing the article. Job offers from other companies. And then she saw it. A comment on the article that made her heart stop. "Congratulations, Stephanie. I always knew you had it in you. Nathan." Stephanie stared at the comment, feeling a mix of satisfaction and annoyance. Nathan was trying to take credit for her success, trying to make it seem like he had always believed in her. But Stephanie remembered the truth. She remembered all the times he had dismissed her ideas, all the times he had made her feel like her dreams were less important than his. She deleted the comment and blocked Nathan from her social media. He didn't get to be part of her success story. He didn't get to pretend he had supported her when he had spent years undermining her confidence. That weekend, Stephanie treated herself to a spa day. As she sat in the massage chair, she thought about the woman she had been and the woman she was becoming. The old Stephanie had been afraid of taking up space, afraid of being too much, afraid of wanting more than she was given. The new Stephanie was afraid of nothing. She had dinner that night at an upscale restaurant with a few colleagues. As they sat at the table, laughing and talking about their projects, Stephanie felt a deep sense of belonging. These people respected her mind, valued her opinions, and saw her as an equal. She had never felt this way when she was married to Nathan. "Stephanie, you've been glowing lately," said Jennifer, one of her team members. "Whatever you're doing, keep doing it." Stephanie smiled. "I'm just finally living my life instead of watching someone else live theirs." As she walked to her car after dinner, Stephanie's phone rang. Nathan again. She had been ignoring his calls for weeks, but tonight she felt strong enough to answer. "What do you want, Nathan?" "I saw the article. Stephanie, I'm so proud of you. I always knew you were capable of great things." Stephanie almost laughed. "No, you didn't. You thought I was capable of making your life easier. You thought I was capable of being the perfect wife while you built your career and had your affair. That's not fair. I supported your dreams. You supported my dreams as long as they didn't interfere with yours. The minute I wanted something that required you to sacrifice or compromise, you made me feel guilty for wanting it." Nathan was quiet for a moment. "I made mistakes. I see that now. But Stephanie, we could have this conversation in person. We could try to work things out." "Work what out?" "We're divorced, Nathan. You made your choice when you chose Rebecca. I told you that's over. I chose wrong. I see that now." Stephanie looked at her reflection in her car window. She saw a woman who was complete all by herself, who didn't need anyone else to feel whole. "Nathan, I'm not the woman you married anymore. I'm not the woman who would take you back because you finally realized what you lost. I'm someone entirely new, and that someone deserves better than being your backup plan." "Stephanie, please. I have to go. I have a life to live." Stephanie hung up and drove home to her new apartment, a beautiful space in a high-rise building that she had furnished herself, with her own money, according to her own taste. As she walked through her front door, she felt the satisfaction of entering a space that was entirely hers. She poured herself a glass of wine and stood on her balcony, looking out at the city lights. Somewhere out there, Nathan was probably sitting in the house they used to share, realizing that he had lost something irreplaceable. But Stephanie wasn't thinking about Nathan anymore. She was thinking about the woman she was becoming and the life she was building. And for the first time in years, she was completely happy with what she saw. Stephanie's phone buzzed as she reviewed the quarterly reports. Hamilton Marketing Group had their best quarter in company history, and much of that success was due to the transformation division Stephanie had built from nothing. She glanced at the message and smiled. It was from a journalist asking for an interview about her innovative approach to corporate rebranding. Another interview request? Victoria asked, walking into Stephanie's office. The third one this week, Stephanie replied, setting her phone aside. Business Weekly wants to feature me in their Executives to Watch section. Victoria sat down looking pleased. You know, when I hired you, I thought you had potential. I had no idea you'd become the face of the company in less than a year. Stephanie felt a surge of pride. The transformation division now employed 23 people and generated 40% of the company's revenue. She had personally overseen the rebranding of 15 major corporations, each project more successful than the last. I have some news, Victoria continued. The board has approved your proposal for the Innovation Lab. They're giving you a $10 million budget and complete creative control. Stephanie's breath caught. The Innovation Lab had been her dream project, a space where companies could completely reimagine their identities using cutting-edge technology and creative thinking. Victoria, I don't know what to say. Say you'll make it the most successful division in the company's history, Victoria grinned. Because knowing you, you probably will. That evening, Stephanie attended a networking event at the city's most exclusive hotel. She wore a stunning emerald green dress that hugged her curves perfectly, paired with heels that made her feel tall and powerful. Her hair fell in soft waves around her shoulders, and her makeup was flawless. As she mingled with other business leaders, Stephanie felt completely in her element. She discussed market trends with CEOs, shared insights with fellow executives, and fielded questions about her rapid rise in the industry. Everyone wanted to know her secret. The secret, Stephanie told a group of young professionals, is that there is no secret. You just have to be willing to work harder than everyone else and never settle for less than you deserve. But how do you balance it all? Asked a woman in her 20s. Career success, personal life, everything? Stephanie considered the question. You don't balance it. You integrate it. You build a life where every piece fits together to create something beautiful. And you never, ever make yourself smaller to fit into someone else's vision of who you should be. As the event wound down, Stephanie found herself in conversation with Robert Chin, the CEO of a major tech company. He was handsome, intelligent, and clearly interested in more than just business. Would you like to have dinner sometime? Robert asked. I'd love to hear more about your approach to transformation. Stephanie smiled. I'd like that. It wasn't that she was looking for romance. But she was open to connection, to possibility, to whatever life might bring. The old Stephanie would have been too afraid to say yes, too convinced that she wasn't worthy of attention from someone successful. The new Stephanie knew her worth. As she drove home, Stephanie's phone rang. Carmen. Stephanie, you need to hear this, Carmen said, her voice excited. I just ran into Rebecca at the grocery store. Stephanie's stomach tightened slightly. She rarely thought about Nathan's affair partner anymore, but hearing her name still caused a small spike of unpleasant emotion. She looks terrible, Carmen continued. Like she hasn't slept in weeks. And Stephanie, she's working at the makeup counter at the department store. The one in the mall. Stephanie frowned. What happened to her job as Nathan's secretary? That's the best part. Apparently Nathan got fired. His law firm found out about the affair and decided he was a liability. Something about professional conduct and ethics violations. Rebecca got fired too. Stephanie felt a complex mix of emotions. She wasn't vindictive enough to take pleasure in someone else's misfortune, but she couldn't deny a certain satisfaction in learning that actions had consequences. There's more, Carmen said. Rebecca told me that Nathan's been calling her constantly, begging her to take him back. He's been unemployed for 2 months and is living in some tiny apartment across town. She said he keeps talking about how he made a mistake leaving you. Stephanie was quiet for a moment. How is she handling it? She's a mess. She kept asking me about you, about how you were doing. I told her you were incredibly successful and happy. She looked like she was about to cry. Stephanie pulled into her parking garage, feeling strangely empty. She had imagined this moment many times, the moment when she would learn that Nathan was suffering, that he regretted his choices, that he realized what he had lost. But instead of satisfaction, she felt nothing. "Stephanie? Are you there?" "I'm here. I don't feel anything about it. I thought I would feel vindicated or satisfied, but I just feel indifferent." "That's because you've moved on," Carmen said. "You've built something so much better than what you had with him. You don't need revenge anymore because you have something better: success." Stephanie rode the elevator up to her apartment, thinking about Carmen's words. She had been so focused on becoming successful that she hadn't noticed when her desire for revenge had faded. Nathan's suffering didn't give her joy because Nathan was no longer important enough to her to inspire any emotion at all. She opened her door and looked around at her beautiful apartment. The walls were covered with framed articles about her success, photos from business events, and awards from industry organizations. This was the life she had built, and it was everything she had ever wanted. Her phone buzzed. A text from Nathan. "Stephanie, I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I need to see you. I've made terrible mistakes and I need to make things right. Please." Stephanie stared at the message for a long moment. Then she deleted it without responding. Nathan Torres was part of her past. A past that had led her to this moment, but a past that no longer defined her. She poured herself a glass of wine and stood on her balcony, looking out at the city she was beginning to conquer. Tomorrow she would start building the innovation lab. Next week she would have dinner with Robert. Next month she would give the keynote speech at the National Marketing Conference. Stephanie Torres was no longer the woman who had been betrayed and abandoned. She was the woman who had risen from the ashes of her marriage to build something extraordinary. And she was just getting started. Stephanie stood at the podium of the Grand Ballroom, looking out at an audience of 800 marketing professionals. The National Marketing Conference was the most prestigious event in the industry, and she had been chosen as the keynote speaker. The topic of her speech was transformation, from setback to success. 6 months ago, Stephanie began, her voice clear and confident, I was a housewife who hadn't worked in 7 years. I had no income, no professional network, and no idea how to support myself. Today, I'm the senior vice president of the fastest growing marketing firm in the country. The audience was riveted. Stephanie told her story, not the personal details, but the professional journey. She talked about taking risks, believing in herself, and refusing to accept limitations. She talked about the importance of transformation, not just for companies but for individuals. Success isn't about avoiding failure, Stephanie said. It's about turning failure into fuel. It's about looking at your lowest moment and saying, this is not where my story ends. This is where it begins. The standing ovation lasted 3 minutes. As Stephanie left the stage, she felt a deep sense of accomplishment. She had not only survived her divorce, she had thrived. The after-party was held at the hotel's rooftop bar. Stephanie mingled with industry leaders, each one eager to meet the woman who had become the talk of the marketing world. She exchanged business cards, discussed potential collaborations, and fielded job offers from companies across the country. Stephanie Torres, a familiar voice said behind her. She turned to see Nathan standing at the edge of the crowd, looking nothing like the confident lawyer she had married. He was thinner, his clothes hung loose on his frame, and his eyes had a desperate quality that made her uncomfortable. Nathan, Stephanie said calmly, how did you get in here? I know people, he said, then immediately looked embarrassed by the admission. I used to know people. I wanted to see you. You look incredible. Stephanie glanced around, noticing that several colleagues were watching their interaction with interest. This isn't the place for this conversation. Then where? You won't return my calls, you won't answer my texts. Stephanie, I need to talk to you. Stephanie excused herself from the group she had been speaking with and led Nathan to a quieter corner of the bar. You have 5 minutes. Nathan ran his hands through his hair, a gesture that no longer made her heart skip. I made the biggest mistake of my life. I lost everything that mattered because I was stupid and selfish and blind. Nathan, I'm not interested in relitigating our marriage. We're divorced. It's over. But it doesn't have to be. Stephanie, look at what you've become. You're amazing. You're successful and beautiful and confident. You're everything I always knew you could be. Stephanie felt a flash of anger. I'm everything I always was. You just never bothered to notice. I know. I see that now. I was so focused on my own career, my own needs, that I couldn't see what was right in front of me. You were supporting me, believing in me, making my success possible, and I threw it all away for what? For Rebecca? Stephanie noticed that Nathan's hands were shaking slightly. How are you doing? Really? Nathan's facade cracked. I'm not doing well. I lost my job, my reputation, my future. The legal community is small and word gets around. No one wants to hire a lawyer who had an affair with his secretary and got caught. I'm sorry that happened to you, Stephanie said, and she meant it. She didn't wish him misery even after everything. Rebecca left me 2 months ago. She said I was pathetic, that I had given up everything for her and she didn't want that responsibility. She said I talked about you too much, that I was obsessed with what I had lost. Stephanie felt a surge of pity for Nathan, but also a clarity she hadn't expected. Nathan, I'm not telling you this to be cruel, but I need you to understand something. Even if you hadn't cheated, even if you had been faithful, our marriage still would have ended eventually. Nathan looked stunned. What do you mean? I mean that you never saw me as a complete person. You saw me as a supporting character in your story. You loved the idea of having a wife who would make your life easier, but you didn't love me. You didn't even know me. That's not true. I loved you. I still love you. You loved what I did for you. You loved having someone to take care of you, someone to make you feel successful and important. But you didn't love my dreams, my ambitions, my potential. You were threatened by the idea that I might want something more than being your wife. Nathan was quiet for a long moment. Maybe you're right. Maybe I was selfish. But I can change. I can be better. I can support your career now. I can be the husband you deserved. Stephanie looked at him with something close to compassion. Nathan, I don't want you to be better. I don't want you to change. I want you to find someone who loves you for who you are, not who you could become. And I want you to love them the same way. There's no one else like you, Nathan said desperately. You're the only woman I've ever really loved. No, Stephanie said firmly. I'm the only woman you've ever really needed. But need isn't love. Love is what I have for myself now. Love is what I'm building with my life and my career and my future. Nathan looked defeated. So there's no chance? No possibility that we could try again? Stephanie thought about the question seriously. She looked at Nathan, really looked at him, and tried to imagine going back to the life they had shared. The thought made her feel claustrophobic. Nathan, I'm not the woman you married anymore. I'm not the woman who would sacrifice her dreams for someone else's. I'm not the woman who would make herself smaller to fit into someone else's life. And honestly, I don't think you'd like the woman I've become. I love the woman you've become, Nathan said quickly. No, you love the success I've achieved. You love the idea of being married to someone important. But you don't love the strength it took to get here. You don't love the independence, the self-reliance, the fact that I don't need you anymore. Nathan was crying now, quiet tears that he tried to hide. Stephanie, I'm begging you. I've lost everything. You're all I have left. I'm not all you have left, Stephanie said gently. You have yourself. You have the chance to build a new life just like I did. You have the opportunity to figure out who you are when you're not trying to be the man you think you should be. Nathan nodded, but Stephanie could see that he wasn't really listening. He was still stuck in the past, still trying to reclaim something that had never really existed. I have to go, Stephanie said. I have an early flight tomorrow. Where are you going? London. I'm opening a European office for Hamilton Marketing Group. Nathan's face crumpled. Of course you are. You're conquering the world and I'm barely surviving. Stephanie touched his arm gently. Nathan, you're going to be okay. But you have to stop looking backward. You have to start looking forward. As Stephanie walked away, she felt a strange mix of sadness and relief. She was sad for Nathan, sad for the pain he was experiencing, sad for the life they had both lost. But she was also relieved to finally close this chapter of her life. Stephanie Torres was no longer defined by her marriage or her divorce. She was defined by her own choices, her own success, her own happiness. And that happiness was about to expand in ways she had never imagined. Stephanie's London office was everything she had dreamed it would be. Located in the heart of the city's financial district, it occupied an entire floor of a historic building that had been renovated with modern amenities. The space was bright and airy, with exposed brick walls and large windows that offered views of the Thames. She had been in London for 3 weeks, setting up the European division of Hamilton Marketing Group. The response from potential clients had been overwhelming. She already had meetings scheduled with 5 major corporations interested in complete rebranding initiatives. Stephanie, the team from Whitmore Industries is here, her assistant, Lucy, announced over the intercom. Stephanie straightened her blazer and walked to the conference room. She had been looking forward to this meeting all week. Whitmore Industries was one of the oldest luxury brands in Europe, and they wanted to modernize their image while maintaining their prestigious heritage. As she entered the conference room, Stephanie was surprised to see that the Whitmore team was led by a man about her age with kind eyes and a genuine smile. He stood as she entered, extending his hand. "Miss Torres, I'm Jonathan Whitmore. Thank you for making time for us." Stephanie shook his hand, noting his firm grip and the way he looked directly into her eyes. "Mr. Whitmore, it's a pleasure. I've been researching your company's history, and I'm fascinated by your heritage." The meeting lasted 2 hours. Jonathan was intelligent, thoughtful, and clearly passionate about his family's company. Unlike Nathan, who had always needed to be the smartest person in the room, Jonathan asked questions, listened to Stephanie's ideas, and built on her suggestions. "Your approach is exactly what we need," Jonathan said as the meeting concluded. "You understand that we're not just selling products, we're selling a legacy. When can we start?" Stephanie smiled. "How about tomorrow?" After the Whitmore team left, Stephanie remained in the conference room, looking out at the London skyline. She felt a sense of contentment that she hadn't experienced in months. The work was challenging, the city was exciting, and she was building something entirely her own. Her phone buzzed. A text from Victoria. "How's London treating you?" Stephanie typed back, "Like a queen. This was the right decision. I knew it would be. You're going to conquer Europe just like you conquered the States." That evening, Stephanie walked through Covent Garden, enjoying the street performers and the energy of the city. She had dinner at a small Italian restaurant, reading a book and savoring the freedom of eating alone without feeling lonely. As she walked back to her hotel, her phone rang. "Carmen." "Stephanie, I have news. Nathan showed up at my house today." Stephanie stopped walking. "What did he want?" "He wanted to know if I had heard from you. He's been calling everyone we know, trying to find out where you are." "Stephanie, he looked terrible. Really terrible." Stephanie felt a pang of concern, but it was distant, like sympathy for a stranger. "What did you tell him?" "I told him you were happy and successful and that he needed to move on. But Stephanie, I'm worried about him. He seems obsessed." "Obsessed how?" "He keeps talking about how he's going to win you back, how he's going to prove he's changed, how he's going to make things right. He's not accepting that it's over." Stephanie frowned. "He'll figure it out eventually. He has to." "I hope so. But Stephanie, maybe you should consider getting a restraining order or something. Just in case." Stephanie dismissed the idea. "Nathan's not dangerous. He's just desperate. He'll move on when he realizes I'm not coming back." But as she hung up, Stephanie felt a small chill. She had been so focused on building her new life that she hadn't considered how her success might affect Nathan. She had assumed he would eventually accept their divorce and move on, but what if he didn't? The next morning, Stephanie threw herself into work. She met with the Whitmore team to begin developing their rebranding strategy. Jonathan was even more impressive in a work setting. He was decisive, creative, and surprisingly funny. "Would you like to grab lunch?" Jonathan asked after their morning session. "I know a great place that serves the best fish and chips in London." Stephanie hesitated. It had been so long since she had been asked on what felt like a date. But Jonathan's invitation seemed casual, friendly, and she found herself saying yes. Lunch was delightful. Jonathan was easy to talk to, and they discovered they had similar interests. Both loved art, both enjoyed travel, and both were passionate about their work. But unlike Nathan, Jonathan seemed genuinely interested in Stephanie's opinions and experiences. "How long have you been in marketing?" Jonathan asked. Stephanie gave him the abbreviated version of her story: the career gap, the recent return to work, the rapid success. She didn't mention Nathan or the divorce. "That's incredible," Jonathan said. "To build something from nothing in such a short time. You must be incredibly driven." "I am now," Stephanie said. "I learned that the only person you can count on is yourself. Everything else is just a bonus." Jonathan nodded thoughtfully. "I understand that. I took over the company when my father passed away 5 years ago. I had to prove myself to a board of directors who saw me as just the privileged son. It's liberating when you realize you don't need anyone else's approval to be successful." Stephanie found herself relaxing in Jonathan's presence. He was attractive, successful, and kind, but more importantly, he seemed to see her as an equal. When he spoke to her, she felt heard and valued. "I'd like to take you to dinner sometime," Jonathan said as they walked back to the office. "If you're interested." Stephanie smiled. "I'd like that." That evening, Stephanie video called Victoria to update her on the London progress. "The Whitmore contract is going to be huge," Stephanie said. "And I think I might have found someone interesting." "Stephanie Torres dating? I never thought I'd see the day." "It's not serious. Just dinner. But he seems like a good man. Good men are rare, Victoria said. Hold on to him if he's worth it. After the call, Stephanie sat on her hotel balcony, looking out at the city lights. For the first time in months, she allowed herself to think about the future not just in terms of career goals and business objectives, but in terms of personal happiness. She had built a successful career, achieved financial independence, and proven to herself that she could thrive on her own. But maybe, just maybe, she was ready to share her success with someone who would appreciate it rather than feel threatened by it. Stephanie Torres was no longer running from her past. She was running toward her future. And that future was looking brighter than she had ever imagined. Stephanie's dinner with Jonathan exceeded all her expectations. He took her to a rooftop restaurant with a stunning view of the London Eye, and they talked for hours about everything and nothing. Jonathan was charming, intelligent, and most importantly, he seemed genuinely interested in her as a person, not just as a successful businesswoman. I have to ask, Jonathan said over dessert, what made you decide to leave everything behind and start over in London? Stephanie considered how much to share. I got divorced about a year ago. My marriage ended badly and I needed a fresh start. London felt like the perfect place to build something new. I'm sorry about your marriage, Jonathan said sincerely. But I have to say your ex-husband's loss is London's gain. Stephanie smiled. Thank you. I'm much happier now than I was then. Good. You deserve to be happy. As Jonathan walked her back to her hotel, Stephanie felt something she hadn't experienced in years: genuine excitement about the possibility of romance. Not because she needed someone to complete her, but because she was whole enough to share her life with someone else. I'd like to see you again, Jonathan said as they reached the hotel entrance. I'd like that too, Stephanie replied. Jonathan leaned in and kissed her cheek softly. Sweet dreams, Stephanie. Stephanie went to bed feeling lighter than she had in months. She was building a successful business, living in an exciting city, and maybe, just maybe, opening her heart to someone new. The next morning, Stephanie woke to 17 missed calls and 43 text messages. All from Nathan. Her stomach dropped as she read through the messages. They started out pleading, then became angry, then desperate. The last one, sent at 3 a.m. London time, simply said, I'm coming to find you. Stephanie immediately called Carmen. Stephanie, thank God, Carmen said, her voice strained. Nathan's been calling me all night. He found out you're in London. How? I don't know. But he's not thinking clearly. He keeps saying he's going to fly there, that he's going to make you listen to him. Stephanie, I'm scared. Stephanie felt a chill run down her spine. What exactly did he say? He said he's lost everything because of you. He said you destroyed his life and now you're living like a queen while he's suffering. He's not making sense. Stephanie's mind raced. Carmen, I need you to call the police. Tell them about the calls, about his threats. I want this documented. Stephanie, are you safe? Maybe you should come home. I'm not running from Nathan, Stephanie said firmly. I've built a life here and I'm not going to let him destroy it. Stephanie called Victoria next, filling her in on the situation. Stephanie, I'm worried about you, Victoria said. Maybe you should consider hiring security or at least letting the hotel know about the situation. I will. But Victoria, I'm not going to let Nathan's breakdown derail everything I've worked for. I've spent too many years letting him control my life. Stephanie spent the morning on the phone with lawyers both in London and back home. They assured her that Nathan couldn't legally do anything to her, but they also couldn't prevent him from traveling to London. The best thing you can do is document everything, her lawyer advised. Save all the messages, record any calls, and don't engage with him directly. Stephanie's afternoon meeting with the Whitmore team was productive, but she found it difficult to concentrate. She kept checking her phone, wondering if Nathan had actually followed through on his threat to come to London. Stephanie, is everything all right? Jonathan asked after the meeting. You seem distracted. Stephanie hesitated, then decided to tell him the truth. My ex-husband has been calling me constantly. He's threatening to come to London to see me. Jonathan's expression grew serious. Are you safe? Do you need help? I think so. I hope so. I never expected him to react this way to my success. Some men can't handle it when their ex-wives thrive without them, Jonathan said. It threatens their ego. But Stephanie, you shouldn't have to deal with this alone. I'm not alone, Stephanie said. I have a good support system. And I'm stronger than I used to be. That evening, Stephanie was in her hotel room when the front desk called. Miss Torres, there's a gentleman here to see you. Nathan Torres. He says he's your husband. Stephanie's heart pounded. He's not my husband. We're divorced. Please don't let him up to my room. Of course, ma'am. Should we call security? Yes, please. And could you transfer me to the concierge? I need to speak with them about hotel security. Stephanie spent the next hour on the phone with hotel security, explaining the situation. They assured her that Nathan would not be allowed access to her room or any information about her stay. But Stephanie couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about Nathan downstairs, probably in the lobby waiting for her. She thought about the man she had loved and married, and how he had become someone she barely recognized. At midnight, Stephanie's phone rang. Nathan. Stephanie, I'm here. I'm in London. I came all this way to see you, and you won't even come down to talk to me. Nathan, you need to go home. This is harassment. Harassment? I'm trying to save our marriage. I'm trying to make things right. Our marriage is over. It's been over for a year. I've moved on and you need to do the same. Moved on. Nathan's voice was bitter. You mean moved on to some rich British guy? I saw the photos on social media. You're already dating someone else. Stephanie felt a surge of anger. My personal life is none of your business anymore. It is my business. You're my wife. I'm not your wife. I'm your ex-wife. And if you don't leave me alone, I'm going to call the police. Go ahead, Nathan said. Call them. Tell them that your husband came to London to try to save his marriage. Tell them that you're breaking up our family for some stranger. Stephanie could hear the instability in Nathan's voice, and it frightened her. Nathan, I'm hanging up now. Please go home. I'm not going home without you, Nathan said. I'm not giving up. Stephanie ended the call and immediately contacted hotel security again. They assured her that Nathan was no longer in the lobby, but they would maintain extra security overnight. Stephanie didn't sleep that night. She sat by her window looking out at the London streets, wondering how her fairy tale transformation had turned into this nightmare. She had worked so hard to build a new life, and now Nathan was threatening to destroy it all. But as the sun rose over London, Stephanie felt her strength returning. She had survived Nathan's betrayal. She had survived the divorce. She had survived starting over with nothing. She could survive this too. Nathan Torres had taken 7 years of her life. He had taken her trust, her security, and her sense of self. But he would not take her future. Stephanie had worked too hard and come too far to let him destroy everything she had built. The reckoning was coming. And Stephanie was ready for it. Stephanie stood in the conference room of her London office, looking out at the city she had come to love. It had been 3 days since Nathan's arrival, and she had heard nothing from him. Hotel security had confirmed he was no longer staying at her hotel, but she had no idea where he was or what he was planning. Stephanie? Lucy knocked on the door. Mr. Whitmore is here for your meeting. Stephanie turned, smoothing her black dress. Send him in. Jonathan entered looking concerned. How are you holding up? I'm fine, Stephanie said, though she wasn't sure she meant it. Ready to finalize the Whitmore contract? Actually, I wanted to talk to you about something else first. Jonathan closed the door behind him. I did some research on your ex-husband. Stephanie, I'm worried about you. Stephanie felt a chill. What kind of research? I have connections in the legal world. Nathan Torres has been disbarred, not just fired. He's facing ethics charges and there are rumors about financial impropriety. He's desperate and desperate men do dangerous things. Before Stephanie could respond, Lucy's voice came over the intercom. Stephanie, there's a Nathan Torres here to see you. He says it's urgent. Stephanie's heart raced. Tell him I'm in a meeting. I already did. He said he'll wait. Jonathan stood up. I'm not leaving you alone with him. Jonathan, this is my problem to solve. No, it's not. You're important to me, Stephanie. I care about what happens to you. Stephanie looked at Jonathan, seeing the genuine concern in his eyes. It was such a contrast to Nathan's selfish desperation. Okay, but let me handle this. I need to face him myself. Stephanie took a deep breath and walked to the reception area. Nathan was pacing near the windows, his clothes wrinkled, his hair unkempt. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. Nathan, Stephanie said calmly. What are you doing here? Nathan turned to her, his eyes wild. I've been thinking about everything you said. About how I never really knew you, about how I was threatened by your success. Maybe you're right. Maybe I was a terrible husband. Nathan, you need to go home. But here's the thing, Stephanie. I don't care if I was a terrible husband. I don't care if I was selfish or blind or whatever else you want to call me. I love you. I've always loved you. And I'm not going to let you throw away 7 years of marriage for some stranger. Stephanie noticed Jonathan standing in the doorway, ready to intervene if necessary. Nathan, those 7 years are already gone. You threw them away when you chose Rebecca. I made a mistake. People make mistakes. But we can fix this. We can start over. I don't want to start over with you, Stephanie said firmly. I want to keep moving forward without you. Nathan's face contorted with rage. It's him, isn't it? This British guy. You think he's better than me? This has nothing to do with Jonathan. This has to do with me realizing that I deserve better than what we had. Better? Nathan's voice rose. I gave you everything. I gave you a home, a life, security. I made you somebody. Stephanie felt a familiar anger rising in her chest. You made me nobody. You made me small and scared and dependent. You made me believe that supporting your dreams was more important than having my own. And look where your dreams got you, Nathan said bitterly. Look where all this independence got you. You're alone in a foreign country, pretending to be something you're not. I'm not pretending to be anything, Stephanie said. I'm being exactly who I was meant to be. I'm successful, I'm happy, and I'm free. Free? Nathan laughed harshly. You're not free. You're running. You're running from me, from our life, from everything that mattered. I'm not running from our life, Nathan. I'm running toward my life. The life I should have been living all along. Nathan stepped closer and Stephanie saw something dangerous in his eyes. You think you're better than me now? You think your little marketing company makes you special? I think my success makes me proud, Stephanie said. I think building something from nothing makes me strong. I think knowing my worth makes me valuable. Your worth. Nathan's voice was venomous. Your worth is tied to me. Everything you have, everything you are, is because of the foundation I gave you. You think you're some kind of self-made success story, but you're nothing without me. Stephanie felt something snap inside her. I'm nothing without you? Nathan, look at yourself. Look at what you've become. You've lost your job, your reputation, your girlfriend, your self-respect. You're standing in my office, in my city, in my life, begging me to take you back. And you think I'm nothing without you? I lost everything because of you, Nathan said. Because you left me. Because you destroyed our marriage. I didn't destroy our marriage. You did. The moment you decided that Rebecca was more important than our vows. The moment you decided that your happiness was more important than our partnership. The moment you decided that I was disposable. Nathan's face was red now, his hands shaking. You're going to regret this. You're going to realize that men like him don't really care about women like you. You're going to come crawling back to me and I might not be there. Stephanie looked at Nathan, really looked at him and saw him clearly for the first time. He wasn't the man she had loved. He wasn't even the man she had hated. He was a stranger who was trying to drag her back to a life that no longer existed. Nathan, Stephanie said quietly, I want you to listen to me very carefully. I'm never coming back to you. I'm never going to regret leaving you. I am never going to wish I had stayed in that small, suffocating life we had together. She stepped closer, her voice growing stronger. I have built something extraordinary here. I have discovered who I am when I'm not trying to be who you wanted me to be. I have found my strength, my voice, my power. And you know what the most beautiful part is? Nathan stared at her, speechless. The most beautiful part is that I didn't do any of this to hurt you. I didn't do it for revenge. I didn't do it to prove you wrong. I did it for me. I did it because I finally learned to love myself more than I loved you. Stephanie took a step back, her posture straight and confident. I want you to leave now. I want you to go back to your life and figure out how to build something new. But I want you to do it without me. Because Nathan, the thing is, I'm done with you. Completely, totally, finally done. Nathan's face crumpled. Stephanie, please. I have nothing left. Then build something new. Just like I did. But do it on your own. Jonathan stepped forward. I think it's time for you to leave. Nathan looked between Stephanie and Jonathan, his eyes filling with tears. This isn't over. Yes, it is, Stephanie said firmly. It's been over for a long time. I just finally stopped pretending it wasn't. Security arrived and escorted Nathan from the building. Stephanie watched from her office window as he got into a taxi, hopefully heading to the airport and back to his own life. Are you okay? Jonathan asked, putting a gentle hand on her shoulder. Stephanie turned to him, feeling lighter than she had in days. I'm perfect. For the first time in my life, I'm absolutely perfect. 3 months later, Stephanie stood in the same conference room, but everything had changed. The Whitmore account had been a massive success, leading to 5 more major clients. Hamilton Marketing Group's European division was thriving beyond anyone's expectations. Jonathan had become a regular part of her life, not as someone she needed, but as someone she chose. Their relationship was built on mutual respect, shared interests, and genuine affection. He supported her ambitions, celebrated her successes, and never once made her feel like she should be smaller to make him feel bigger. Stephanie's phone buzzed with a text from Carmen. Nathan moved to California. Got a job with a small firm there. Hasn't mentioned you in months. I think he's finally moving on. Stephanie smiled and deleted the message. Nathan's journey was no longer her concern. Victoria called that afternoon with news. Stephanie, the board wants to make you a full partner. Your European division is going to be the model for our global expansion. Stephanie felt tears of joy prick her eyes. Victoria, I don't know how to thank you. Thank me by continuing to be exactly who you are. Stephanie, do you remember that first day when I told you not to do this for revenge? I remember. I was wrong. You did need revenge. But not against Nathan. You needed revenge against the woman who had settled for less than she deserved. You needed to prove to her that she was capable of extraordinary things. Stephanie stood at her office window that evening, looking out at the London skyline. She thought about the woman who had sat in her car a year ago, watching her husband feed strawberries to another woman. That woman had felt like her life was ending. But that woman had been wrong. Her life hadn't been ending. It had been beginning. Stephanie Torres had risen from the ashes of her marriage to build something magnificent. She had transformed not just companies but herself. She had discovered her power, her worth, and her voice. And Nathan Torres? Nathan Torres was exactly where he belonged in her past, learning to live with the consequences of his choices. The thing is, Stephanie realized, the best revenge isn't making someone suffer. The best revenge is becoming so incredibly happy that you forget why you wanted revenge in the first place. Stephanie Torres was living proof that sometimes the end of one story is just the beginning of a much better one. And her story? Her story was just getting started.